Now, today we are going to discuss how you can identify assumptions that are in an argument. These assumptions are not always self-evident. We are still discussing arguments. We began discussing about how do you formulate a research problem, how do you convert it to a problem statement. Then I began discussing with you the literature review. Then I began explaining to you with the claim, identifying the claim, and then we moved to the argument. Now we are going to discuss the assumptions that are in the argument. So very many times people make a lot of assumptions when they make an argument. So therefore it is important for us to identify those assumptions. Or when we write our own research paper, there are things that we may assume as well. We may have certain assumptions and we might as well write our assumptions as part of our argument. Now, what do we mean by assumptions? Assumptions can be sometimes called presuppositions. We all have certain presuppositions. In fact, one of the principles in hermeneutics is basically one branch in theory of knowledge or philosophy of knowledge. Basically, it means interpretation. One of the important principles in hermeneutics is there is no understanding without presupposition or pre-understanding. We all have certain presuppositions. It is everything when we try to understand, when we try to interpret, we always bring certain presuppositions with us. But make sure of this distinction. You might sometimes come across in a text an author speaking, supposing this is the case, supposing this is true. Now that doesn't mean he is presupposing something, or that doesn't mean he or she is assuming something. That is merely a hypothetical statement. Okay. So the word supposing appears in a text does not necessarily imply that the author has a presupposition or an assumption. If that is not assumption, what is assumption? Assumptions in arguments are unstated or unsaid reasons. When we were discussing about some of the question answers that you raised, I did point out at one point in time, well, you have an implicit unstated reason there. That is assumption. Often the argument depends upon the assumptions. They are not said, they are not stated, but they are behind the written text. They are implicitly there. It is not explicitly seen. You don't notice them, but you need to learn to identify them. What are the functions of assumptions? Assumptions give support to the reasons that are explicitly presented in the argument. Another function is assumptions are often the missing step within the argument. They act as unstated reasons. So that is how they function, assumptions. They give support to the reasons that are explicit in the argument, and they also provide the missing link within the argument because they are unstated reasons and they are implicit. Now I have given both the argument and the assumption below, but technically you read only the first bullet point and think about it for a while and see whether there is an assumption. We should reduce the penalty for drunken driving, as a milder penalty would mean more convictions. We should reduce the penalty for drunken driving, as a milder penalty would mean more convictions. Now there is something that is assumed here. What is the assumption? Now why do you need to reduce the penalty for drunken driving? Because milder penalty would mean more convictions. But there is also something implicitly there. Milder penalty would mean more people will drink. That is why you will have more convictions. So that is, we should increase the number of convictions for drunken driving. So the number of convictions would also go high. Milder penalty would mean more convictions, which mean the convictions we have to increase for drunken driving because more people are likely to drink. Now another example, Moby Dick is a whale. So Moby Dick is a mammal. Now the argument is valid, but there is a missing premise, unstated reason. The unstated reason is anything that is a whale is a mammal. Now that is a missing link, but of course it is implicit. Moby Dick is a whale, so Moby Dick is a mammal. What you are saying is anything that is a whale is a mammal. Moby Dick is a whale, therefore Moby Dick is a mammal. Giving students a fail grade will damage their self-confidence. Therefore, we should not fail students. Now, giving students a fail grade will damage their self-confidence. Therefore, we should not fail students. That is an unstated reason which is implicitly there. What is the unstated reason? We should not damage students' self-confidence. That is a missing link. Otherwise, it does not logically, it doesn't follow that we should not fail students, does not logically follow from giving students a fail grade will damage their self-confidence. Though oftentimes we speak that way, but we implicitly assume we should not damage students' self-confidence. That is implicitly there. So we need to learn to identify that. We need to be a little more sharp in getting there. It should not be illegal for adults to smoke pot. After all, it does not harm anyone. Again, there is something implicit. What is that? Implicit. Whatever does not harm should not be made illegal. So you should not say that adults should not smoke weed. They should not smoke drugs. It doesn't harm anyone. So anything that does not harm people should not be made illegal. That is implicitly there. There is nothing wrong talking on a mobile phone during lectures. Other students do it all the time. Now there is something that is implicitly there. If an action is done generally by people, including other students, all the time, then there is nothing wrong about it. Now that is not explicitly stated, but that is implicitly there. But this may not be necessarily a good argument. This could be a very bad argument, but at least there is an implicit, reasoning which is there. Killing an innocent person is wrong, therefore abortion is wrong. Now there is again a missing link. Abortion means killing an innocent person. So then it becomes complete. So there is an unstated reason which is implicit, not explicit, which is abortion involves the killing of an innocent person. Traces of ammonia have been found in Mars atmosphere, so there must be life on Mars. Now people all very casually say that because there are certain things people would presuppose that we also know that. Now what does that mean? There is an implicit assumption, only living things produce ammonia. So ammonia is found in Mars, only living things produce ammonia, therefore there is life on Mars. So but that is implicit that only living things produce ammonia. There cannot be more than one God. Otherwise, there will be two gods equally powerful, or one is more powerful than the other. Again, there is an implicit unstated reason. If there is something is called God, nothing else can be more powerful, or at least as powerful as that God. So that is implicitly there. It's not stated, but Now let us take an exercise and see. For you to do it, 1/3 of the population still smokes. Everyone knows that smoking causes lung cancer and heart disease. Now, first try to identify the claim here. 1/3 of the population still smokes. Everyone knows that smoking causes lung cancer and heart disease. In fact, the claim here is, or the conclusion is, 1/3 of the population still smokes. It's not very evident. This is a little tough. Why? Because there is something implicit. The implicit is, that is the answer, knowing the dangers of smoking is not sufficient to stop people from smoking. Now, this is the reasoning. Now, this is the first premise or the second premise. Knowing the dangers of smoking is not sufficient to stop people from smoking. Everyone knows that smoking causes lung cancer and heart disease. Still 1/3 of the population smokes. Now let us take the second exercise. Bit long, take your time, read it and see whether you can identify assumptions. Some of them can be a little tough, but if you practice, you should get used to it. That's why I keep repeatedly saying, read the editorial in the newspaper and then see what is the argument, what is the claim, are there implicit reasons called assumptions there. Again, you can also look whether it is a bad argument or good argument, whether there is an analogy used in that argument, whether it is a faulty analogy, things like that. I mean, now you have some skills. It's like, I am giving you tools, and the tools are to be used by you. So no matter how elegant the tool is, unless you begin to use, you cannot really produce something out of the tools. So it's up to you now. So I have given you some tools. So not necessarily for the exam, but it kind of sharpens your mind, it sharpens your thinking, sharpens your reading, your ability to critically read something, but also critically write. Now let us read this. Occupational accidents will never be eliminated because all human activity entails a risk. Because you can never say there cannot be accident in your workplace, because every human activity has risk. But the number of accidents could be greatly reduced, and the surest way of achieving such a reduction is to penalize with fines or even imprisonment those employers on whose premises they occur. So we cannot completely eliminate accidents in the workplace, but we can at least reduce. One way to reduce is to punish the employers in whose workplace accidents happen. So such a policy might result in cases of individual injustice. True, the employer may not be responsible, it may be the carelessness of the employee, but it may result in the individual injustice, but it be effective in securing safer workplaces. Now there are a couple of assumptions here. They are not explicitly stated. See whether you can identify them. Read that again carefully. At least one of that is very evident. One of that is rather very evident. When you say the surest way to reduce accident in workplace is to punish the employers. Are you not assuming something? What are you assuming? The employers, if they want, can reduce occupational accidents. They have the ability. You see, that is implicit, that is not explicit, right? At least that is evident. But there are more assumptions. Let me come to that. The first assumption is penalties would influence the behavior of employers. So if you want the employers to improve their behavior towards the employees, then you can threaten them with punishment or penalties. So the threat of penalties would influence the behavior of employers. That is the first assumption. Now again, when I say assumption, what I mean is these are unstated reasons. These are reasons, but they are not said in the text itself. The second, it's possible for the employers to take measures which can prevent the occurrence of accidents, at least some. So it is within their ability to prevent accidents. Now both these assumptions are reasons which are to be taken together in order to support the claim that threat penalties would reduce accidents. Otherwise, it simply threat penalties would reduce accidents doesn't explain itself unless these two assumptions are taken as reasons together. There is also another assumption. There is no other method as effective as this in reducing the number of accidents, that you are implicitly also stating, because that is the only surest way, that's the only way, which means there is no other method that is as effective. This is another assumption which is implicit there. Exercise 3. If cigarette advertising is banned, cigarette manufacturers will save the money they would otherwise have spent on advertising. Thus, in order to compete with one another, they will reduce the price of cigarettes. So, banning cigarette advertising will be likely to lead to an increase in smoking. In simple terms, if cigarette companies, if they don't advertise, if it is banned, then they will not spend money on advertising. If they don't spend money on advertising, they will, in order to promote themselves, they will reduce the price of cigarette. So if they reduce the price of cigarettes, then banning cigarette advertising will lead to increase in smoking. Now again, there are assumptions here, implicit, not explicit, not evident, but you need to identify, because these assumptions are essential in order to see whether the claim that is made is an effective claim or not. What is that? If cigarettes were cheaper, smokers would smoke more. So that is an assumption. Assumption again means unstated reason. If cigarettes were cheaper, not only the smokers would smoke more, maybe there would be more smokers now. Many more people will join the company of smokers because after all they are cheap. These are two assumptions that are implicit in that particular argument. Last exercise. Some people say that the depiction of violence on television has no effect on viewers' behavior. However, if what was shown on television did not affect behavior, television advertising would never influence viewers to buy certain products. But we know that it does. So it cannot be true that television violence does not affect behavior. Now, it's a very good argument, but it has unstated reasons. It's a very good argument. The argument is, the claim that you are making is television violence affect human behavior, viewers' behavior. And they begin by saying the contrary view. There are some who say that way because they are, if they say that, then there is an example that is brought in. It's somewhat an analogy here. The analogy is, if the commercials do affect viewers to buy products, therefore the violence on TV also should affect the viewers. Now, what is the unstated reason? The commercials that you watch and the violence that are shown on TV, they are similar in many important ways. That is an assumption. So that because for that you are using that analogy, right? The commercials as an analogy for the influence of commercials on you, as an analogy for the influence of violence on you, violence shown on television on you. There is also another assumption. If one aspect of television affects people's behavior, then other aspects or even all aspects must do the same. So if commercials can affect your behavior, that's one of the aspects of TV, then violence and many other things would also affect you. So these are the two assumptions. These are unstated reasons. So when you read a text, the argument will not only be built on stated reasons. There may be unstated reasons. They are implicit. They are called assumptions. Try and identify them. You can only identify them by providing the missing link, very often in some cases. Other cases, you see, there seems to be something missing here. What is missing? Like in this case, the analogy. There's an analogy by which, so violence and advertisement, they are similar in important ways. Also, if one aspect of television, watching television, affects people's behavior, then other aspects or all aspects must affect people's behavior. So these are some of the assumptions that are there in this argument, but you will also find in any argument such assumptions. So it's up to you now to read some random text, any text for that matter. Particularly, I would say that you read some newspaper editorial, some small writer. The best newspaper editorial I would recommend to you is to read The Hindu, one of the well-known newspapers. I'm not saying that any newspaper is absolutely perfect. Every newspaper has its bias, but at least the language is good in The Hindu. So it's for that purpose. You could read that and try and identify what is the claim the editor is making. How does he argue that? And in that argument, what are the stated reasons? Is it a bad argument, good argument, whatever, all those details? And are there assumptions there? Can I identify those assumptions? Try and do that in your own time. So that would be a good practice. So we will be having a quiz on Tuesday, which would cover all these topics we have discussed so far. So be prepared. So now I will end the session. If you have questions, I will take it up. Thank you very much.